Next is number 11, public participation, and I'll turn that over.
Do you have your statement to read, Chair Hammond? Your statement.
Oh, you want me to read? I'm sorry. My bad. The board welcomes and encourages public participation. However, the privilege of addressing the board does not include the ability to make personal attacks on any board member, district employee, or other member of the public. We respectfully ask that you adhere to the procedure and the decorum provided in Board Policy BEDH, public participation at meetings. Your comments should be limited to 3 minutes. Questions asked during public participation will be handled in accordance with Board Policy BEDH. And we will have the timing up here. So,
All right, first, Dot Blackwell of IRMO is here to speak about primary stakeholders.
Good evening. Good evening to all of you. My name is Pat Blackwell. Our children attended Chapin Elementary, Chapin Middle School, Chapin High School back in the 80s and 90s. And we were always been very proud of the education they received in this district. My friend and I, having concerns regarding what is happening in our schools across the country, decided to attend a school board meeting to see how our board is handling the concerns here. How surprised and pleased we were at that meeting to see a group of parents dedicated to working for the benefit of the teachers and students in our community. We are learning that there are issues even here that need to be addressed in regard to what our children are being taught, how they're being taught, the materials finding their way into the classroom and library, and how the district's response is to COVID mandates that are affecting the lives of teachers and students alike. Communication between the board and parents is key to the success of our children. And while I was going to ask you to please support the primary stakeholders' proposal, I thank you for supporting it. Thank you.
Natalie Brown of Chapin is here to speak about DHEC and policies.
Good evening. My name is Natalie Brown, and I'm the primary stakeholder of 2 children in this district. I'm here to talk about fear, because all I see when I come to these meetings is fear-based decisions. I see a lot of people who ask really awesome questions, Huddle, Hines, Gardner. They seem like they have our backs, which I really appreciate. But all over the news, the CDC, Dr. Fauci, Biden, the Biden administration, and this district, it's all about fear. So let's define fear. Fear is a distressing emotion aroused by impending danger, evil, pain, whether the threat is real or imagined. And we all know some of this is imagined. Propagating fear on a regular basis to control the masses and keep their pockets lined with money is the theme taking place in our society. You guys can't control that. I know that. But it's trickling down. So the fear starts at the top, and it trickles down through all the government systems to DHEC. Don't get me started on DHEC. At the local level, DHEC is making decisions based out of fear. Do they consult their God, our maker? Do they pray? Do they look through their Bible when they make decisions? I really don't see evidence of that. I don't see evidence of that when you look at our federal government, when you listen to Fauci on TV. These people are not seeking guidance from their creator. These leaders are modeling for children that they should be fearful of anyone not wearing a mask, fearful of those who aren't socially distancing, and even worse, let's be fearful of the unvaccinated. It's disgusting. This is child abuse. I'm a former educator. I educated students for over 20 years. I left the profession because I couldn't defend my children and defend what was right, because the control at the top and all of the, I cannot think of the word, there was too much control outside, and teachers could not stand up for what they truly believed in. It's sad. It's just a sad situation. So DHEC's blatant ignorance and marriage to the corrupt CDC has robbed our children of District 5 numerous hours of in-person instruction. So to the DHEC policymakers, they're committing child abuse. Plain and simple. Quarantining the healthy, muzzling kids, and propagating the jab are all fear-based reactions. Kids are being indoctrinated into this insanity because of DHEC, and sometimes I feel like D5. I'm seeing some things tonight, maybe give me a glimmer of hope. But our Bible mentions that we're not to fear over 300 times in the Bible. One example is in Proverbs 25, which states, "Fearing people is a dangerous trap, but trusting the Lord means safety." So Dr. Ross, at one point at the beginning of the school year, you had your safety toolbox with all your mitigation means. Was there a Bible in there? I don't know your hearts. I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to cast judgments on people. I don't know what your relationship is with God. But what I'm asking is that you pick up your
Time up.
cross daily and you
Time's
seek
up.
God's wisdom.
Thank you. Sorry, we would ask you to watch our time. We're going to be fair and equitable. Next.
Alan Wright of Chapin is here to speak about library books.
Good evening. I think the last time I was here, we were talking about materials that our children are exposed to in our schools, and that we're really pushing, or we're going to start pushing, for a full audit of the curriculum, a full audit of our libraries. So recently, I've come across some books that are in our school libraries, and I'm going to tell you they're explicit. And the first one, and all these books were confirmed either by a student or faculty member as of today in our libraries.
Ms. Wright, I don't know, since children may be listening to this.
I agree, but this is
Yeah,
what you're
this is-
subjecting our children to, the children of this district. And when you send it into a high school, you not only have 18-year-olds who are, maybe seniors, but you also have 14-year-olds, girls, boys. And I'm not saying we're naive that our children are not being exposed to this in any other way, but it should not be in the schools, and it is. And there are multiple books, and they're all going to be read. So y'all really need to get better about this, and the district office, and do a better job of what you're exposing our children to. You keep saying this is a community issue. I would beg to differ. I believe it's a school issue. And this is totally unacceptable. And this is pornography being given to our children. Thank you.
Thank you.
Krista Sorrenti of Chapin is here to speak about library books.
Are you going to read an excerpt?
I will.
I think we got
I'll
the
make it
point,
PG
Ms.
for
Wright.
you. I was going to read an excerpt, so I'm kind of doing this on the fly. But basically, we have 3 children in this district. We moved here in April, and we thought we were moving to one of the best districts in the state. I will say it was better than where we were. However, since we've gotten here, we've got the quarantine. The kids are out all the time. We're following crazy DHEC like everybody. And I get that you have to follow DHEC. I get the rules. But then I see things, my son's in middle school, and it's trans this and gay this and this. And I'm like, it's to the point where, like, I'm one of the few people that I'm friends with that haven't pulled their kids out. I went and talked to the principals. I had great conversations. I went through some of the things that I didn't want my children talking to, and I will say that the teachers have, went along with a lot of that. But then so you get past one thing, you get past CRT, and you get past the sex stuff, and then you have the quarantines. You're making it where nobody wants to send their kids to school anymore. Then you have to worry about what they're picking up at the library. Like, we need to do better. This is not okay. And it's to the point where nobody even wants to send their kids. I feel like I'm sending my kids to some government indoctrination camp with a bunch of lunatics. And it shouldn't be that way. We pay taxes so that we can give our kids an education. We shouldn't have to go put them in private school, put them online because they're getting indoctrinated. And I do have an excerpt. I'm not going to be explicit, but just to give you an idea, this one's in Irmo High School. Like, my kid's he's going to be in Chapin. But I don't want to send them. I don't want to send them where we got all this crazy going on. Like, you have to feel like you have to keep your kids home to keep them safe from psychos. I mean, that's where we are. And I've went above and beyond, went and talked to the principals. And like I said, they worked out well. But every day I go online and I see this is happening and this is happening. I mean, we have an entire list where we've actually went and made sure that these are actually in these schools in this district. And I mean, hers, you heard what hers was. Okay, well, let me just kind of. But thank you for the parent resolution. I do appreciate that.
Renee Kelly of Chapin is here to speak about library books.
Renee, I think we get the point. As far as, I'm really thinking there are children, sometimes it is actually an assignment. They have to listen to a school board meeting. Can you imagine? So they probably.
Hang on.
No, I need to find out what teachers assigning these books.
Ms. Hammond, I think they need to be allowed to make their
Please
statements.
don't blame all our teachers for some bad books in there. We're gonna. Yeah. Go ahead.
So this is my time to speak. I am a
Yeah.
primary stakeholder, and this is the reason why parents need to be primary stakeholders. There are a lot of things that are out there in the library that you may not be aware of. People are purchasing them. They are coming into our schools. There's another book. This is currently in our library. I'll skip some of the bad words, but I'll give you a brief little synopsis. Now, this is not anything I want my child to be exposed to. Of course, people are like, well, your kid has this fancy phone, right? They can access whatever they want to access. True. I do put some restrictions on my child's phone, try as best as I can, but I don't want these books to be in the library, which is basically condoning this behavior. Go ahead, read this pornography. Go ahead, try doing something with him, try doing something with her. Oh, it's okay if it's a grown-up. It's okay if it's something at camp. This is not acceptable behavior. We need to be aware of what is available to our children and not condone it and allow them to do that. Thank you. And thank you for the resolution. Do appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Todd Grosh of Chapin is here to speak about books.
Have all of y'all been in the library?
I'm sorry?
I'm interested in that. I'm not being funny. I'm just thinking about finding these books, unless, how you became aware of the books. But I don't want to take your time. You start and then I'll.
That's fine. I have 2 children in the district, and I am a primary stakeholder. In regards to primary stakeholder, it was mentioned that that was not seen. Yes, it was. It was read twice before this board. So let's stick to the facts there. As well as every board member was called about this resolution. I spoke to you directly, sir. Yeah, I did. Your wife was there. You told me on the phone.
Let's don't attack anybody.
So
please,
at
sir.
any rate, with the books and with the whole primary stakeholder resolution, I've been coming here for about a year and a half. I brought paperwork showing, for instance, about corn pop and CRT. The parents have brought this to you to address it. Has anything been done about it? I haven't heard the board speak about it. I haven't heard the board go ahead and make a resolution or take a vote or try and go ahead and push other parts of the district to start to weed this situation out. The corn pop, that's still available. I know it's still available for a fact. That was one issue that we brought. Now, it was said that, oh, well, I don't want fanatic parents or however it was put coming to the board meeting and speaking for all their parents. Well, let me tell you, I'm a primary stakeholder of my children, not some club. I'm the primary stakeholder, and so is my wife. And what goes on in this district is of our concern. Now, we're not saying that we're coming to battle the board or battle the school teachers and everything. But what goes on in these schools and what goes on with this board is our concern. Why? Number one, you're elected officials. If you can't handle it, get up and leave. It's that simple. You all have a hard job to do. But I think it's pretty simple when you have parents that are coming forward and bringing issues such as CRT and getting in our schools, such as the books the mama bears found in our libraries. And I'm sorry it's a little hard to listen to, but on the same token, if it's difficult for adults to listen to that language that's read out of books that are in our libraries with our kids, we got a serious issue. We have a very serious issue if adults can't entertain what is being read to them because it's offensive, but kids are allowed to read it. That's an issue, and that needs to be resolved. So everything we're bringing forward to you in that resolution directly reflects on what is not being done over the past year and a half that I personally have been here, because we've all brought these issues. The DHEC issue. I mean, you're saying numbers. What are the numbers based on? A PCR test? You know, the CDC said the PCR test can't be used past December 31st, 2021 because it can't differentiate between the flu and COVID-19. So
Thank you.
everybody
Thank
has to start thinking. We got to
Thank you.
use this.
Olivia Trashasset?
It's her subject, books. Oh, sorry.
No, it's about the books. Thank you for having us. There are some places where parents aren't allowed to speak, and we want to pretend that that's not real, but it's happening, and it's happening everywhere. So when I was made aware that these books were in our library, I have a senior this year, and I'm an 8th and 10th grader. It's not in Irmo District. We pulled them. We moved here almost 3 years ago. Wish we hadn't. Like some, thought we were coming to a great place. Sadly, we realized that's not true, and so we're just trying to make the best of the time we got left. So here are some excerpts from some of the books. I know it's hard for you to listen to, but if they're appropriate for our library, they're appropriate for this meeting.
Of order,
Yeah,
please.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
This
I
is in
understand that. I
the library
understand
for our
that.
children.
Wait a minute, order.
Can I pause my time? Y'all are on my time.
No, I'll give it back to you. Here's the thing, though. It only takes one or two of these that we get it, And I agree with you that if it's, y'all using that argument. I am saying again, I'm not going to have, I don't think it needs to be when this is live streamed. It bothers me because there are some children that haven't looked at these books. So we get the point. One could have given it to us.
Yeah, they're in the library.
Now, I want to give her the
I
time
don't
that
need
started
more
Dr.
time.
Harris back.
I was asked
I'm
if I
just
would
saying,
come
don't
address
read
this
it.
issue. That's what I did. I don't need my time back.
You don't
Thank
want the time back? Okay.
Kim Murphy of Chapin is here to speak about taxes.
Oh, taxes, great. Thank you, Kim.
Good evening. Thank you for your service. It can be a thankless job, but as a new board with a new superintendent, you have accomplished so many positive things for the education of our children and the good of our community and taxpayers. Though you don't toot your own horn and you don't have anyone to do it for you, your good work, in spite of all kinds of challenges, has not gone unnoticed. A sincere thank you. You are about to embark on establishing the budget for next year, and I have just a couple observations as you get started. First, it appears that you are flush with cash. It's not necessarily a bad thing. However, I'm hopeful you will consider a millage rate reduction. With the additional revenue that is being discussed tonight with the budget amendment, your budget over last year will increase from $195 million to $205 million, a $10 million increase. Per our CFO, your CFO, the increase is related to an increase of less than 300 students. However, that increase will put us at one student more than the enrollment for the 2017-2018 school year. During that time frame, the budget from 2017-18 to 2021, July, the budget grew $23 million. Yes, you've had some unexpected expenses, but according to your 2021 audit report, which was just presented, the district took in over $4.7 million more than it needed to meet the expenses of the district. Your 2021 audit report also identified that the extra revenue is now $51 million. This extra revenue has been collected over and above your expenditures, and it's been accumulating in the fund balance year after year after year. For comparison, in the 2018 year end, the amount in fund balance was $37 million. So in other words, your millage rate is too high if you continue to take in more money and put it aside. Now, I understand this was under a previous administration. Things have changed now. When the district presents its budget to the public, it says that it must have the funds to pay for the teachers and the staff and to operate our schools. But if $51 million have been collected from taxpayers over and above the amount that is needed for that, and that number is actually higher, thank you very much. Please consider a millage rate
Thank you.
reduction.
Is that the last one?
Hammond, I have a question. I think under public participation, we are allowed to address some
Some of the
things.
questions? Mhm.
Yeah, and I would just
Certainly.
like Dr. Ross or the administration to address, is there a policy and a procedure in place if a parent finds a book in the library or curriculum that they find objectionable?
Yeah, we have an existing policy in which you bring these, policy KEC. That's any parent who has a concern about any text, any slide, any PowerPoint presentation, any newspaper article, any magazine cutout, anything that's presented to their children, they can present that. To this date, how many have we received?
0.
We have received none. What we've done is advertise pornography at a public meeting to students who haven't seen this. There are students watching this for an assignment, and we've just given them the titles to go see. There was one book, All Boys Are Blue, that was given to me this summer. I asked for those to be pulled. I missed one. That's my fault. But I am very concerned that we use public format to advertise. And you know, teenagers, what was just read at this mic is now being looked up to be spread around. Please use our existing policies. This is what I'm concerned about. If we don't use our existing policies that were approved by a state-constituted institution of a school board, and we use new formats to circumvent that, we do harm to children. If you disagree with it, why would it be okay to read that publicly if you disagree with it? And so it is please respect and this is what we're
Please,
talking
sir.
about. We have to respect the rules that are in place. When we don't respect the rules that are in place, we have situations like this. Students have to have an example to follow. When they don't follow those rules and they do things that go outside of the rules, these are things that we can't uphold. Rules are there to be followed. And if we don't follow those because we don't disagree with them, then we take the process that we have in place that we disagree with it. Madam Chair, I ask that we amend the broadcast of this not to have pornography shown when we broadcast this.
Do I have a second? Oh, I thought she, I'm sorry. He can't make the motion.
Yes,
I can't
yes,
make it. I'm
yes,
making
ma'am, I'd
a
like to move that
recommendation.
we redact the recording of this meeting before it is put online to remove all profane words and any material that would be considered pornography.
What we will, as the administration, we will do in that section, we will continue to highlight our existing policies to allow parents that have any concerns about books. When that book was brought to me, we went to pull it. If we missed one, it was already checked out.
I second that.
But I don't think it's okay if to circumvent the existing policies that we have in place. Kids are watching, and if we disagree with the format or which materials that's there, let adults handle that in the way that the community has approved it. This is the concern that I worry about when we talk about directing the administration through parents. We have existing processes, and in a democracy, that's how we administrate these code of laws, these policies. So thank you for that motion.
Okay,
I'd like to discuss one thing on the motion.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I pulled up the policy. It's really simple and sweet. There's a form online on the district's website under Board Policies, KEC. There's a form you fill out. You email it to, it's called Citizens Request for Review of Education Materials. You send an email to Dr. Ross, whose email is on the public website, and you put the same thing in the title of the email. That's all you have to do if you want some material reviewed.
Thank you. We had a motion and a second. And any other discussion, Ms. Hines?
Because we're discussing this, I agree, the language used in those books is disgusting, and it's not appropriate for our children to hear it's sad that parents felt like they had to say that, speak it in a meeting. And I appreciate Ms. Huddle putting, and Ms. Miller addressing the proper format to submit concerns about specific situations where there is obscene material. But Dr. Ross, we had a conversation this weekend, and I expressed concern that there was a book in Irmo High School last week, and you said that it had been pulled in the summer, and then you said that it would be addressed first thing this morning, and it's still in the Irmo High School library. And when we have conversations and then we answer questions to constituents, and that kind of material is in our libraries, there's been a lot of materials addressed at school board meetings that weren't necessarily obscene, and we don't follow up on it. And we get to a point. I mean, you can shake your head, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful at all, but some of the material that has been submitted via email to the board, or we've gotten phone calls, I mean, it is obscene. And it doesn't feel like when we come into meetings, we have something on our agenda talking about what's actually going on in our schools. We're talking about all of this other craziness in the world or craziness within our own district and
Ms.
an
Hines.
agenda. So I'm frustrated.
Ms. Hines, I think you're missing, I get your point, but you're missing the point that was made by Ms. Miller and Dr. Ross. There's a process. And just saying it at the board meeting lets us know that they're concerned people, but they need to fill out that form that we're talking about.
My
and
point
it'll
is,
get
Dr.
done.
Ross has been made aware of material in our school district, and maybe it hasn't been submitted in a formal way.
Well, that's
but
what they need to do.
when that happens, that should have already been addressed.
That's what they need to do.
Not the first time that that particular book has been brought before board members, and it's not the first time that it's been brought before Dr. Ross. And I'm not trying to throw you under the bus, but I'm mad that we have that material in our schools.
Okay, I get it. You made your point. Dr. Ross, you may certainly defend yourself.
I appreciate that, Madam Chair. When that was brought to me, I asked for those books to be pulled. I'm being brought on task because I didn't personally pull them. That's my fault. I apologize. We missed one at Irmo High School. That's my fault. I've said that. But to say that I didn't respond, I think that is, that's not representative of the facts. I responded when that was brought to me. Of the copies that were sent to us, I missed one copy. And I'm being told that that was me not responding. I think that's unfair. And so I'll say my piece. We can disagree. I think it's best we move on.
Thank you, Dr. Ross. We got to have our vote. Yes, Ms. Gardner.
I think just in defense of Dr. Ross, I mean, the expectation that he would do something that would micromanage the system is not his role. And that if he asks for something to be done and it wasn't, then it's up to him to decide who, he has to take to task whoever didn't do what he asked. But I don't think it's fair to say that he didn't respond. I think that the best way for it to get to the proper places is that we fill out the paperwork. I am very upset that I had to listen to that because I think it's inappropriate in all forms that we had to be subjected to that when it has never been emailed to me. It's never been addressed to me. I've never gotten a text about these books. I've never gotten a list. I've never had the chance to fill out that form because I would do it as a parent because I'd ask, how do we do this? What's the procedure? What's the policy? And so I'm offended that you think that we're not going to take control. We're not going to do something about it until you offend us. And if you want us to advocate and help, we've got to do this together. You have to help us. Email me the list. Don't tell me and read it to me from this stand, and because it's offensive. I'm very offended by the whole thing.
Ms. Huddle.
I'd like to echo Ms. Gardner's remarks. Nobody's ever emailed me any of that stuff, and I'm offended that we weren't even given a chance, and then we have to listen to it. I agree, it's offensive, and I'm very upset that it's in our libraries. I would like to just state that, and maybe this needs to go to the policy committee, but I want to find out how we prevent. Let's not just get rid of these books, but how do we prevent that these kind of books? We have a policy, I think it's IJL, but, I would just suggest that, Ms. Gardner, maybe we look at that policy with input from the administration to shore that up, because we don't need to be going on a hide and seek, hunt and find. We need to prevent these books from getting in the library to start with.
And before we leave this subject and have this vote to redact that, Dr. Ross, I realize that these books are there. I believe these parents. But how is it called to our attention? In other words, and Ms. Miller, I may know how I'm asking that. Let's say I'm a teacher. So are they assigned by a teacher? Do kids just say, I want to go, I can give a media pass to my kids and they go pick out a book they want to read? And then they bring it home and you check their book? I would like to see how have we learned about it? Because we certainly need to know about it. I don't mean it in a derogatory way, but I'd like to know how, are they assigned by teachers, or they just happen to get in the books and kids go in there and one kid finds it and says, because I teach middle school, so then they tell the friend about the book, they tell the friend, so, you know, it's like that, you know, it's a cool thing that, let me show you what I found. So it may be that no teacher even realizes those books are there. But how did they, you know, how does a list get there? I think like I'd like us to learn that as a board. Who okays these, who orders these? Let's follow the trail back, how this is done, so that we can be, because look guys, I'm gonna tell you something. We don't always agree on this board, but this is a good board. It is 7 people that care and want to do what's best for students. We may have different ways we want to get there, but I'm just telling you as a teacher, I get it how this, you know, how classroom works. So I want to follow, as you say, follow the money. I want to follow how these get there, because I certainly don't blame Dr. Ross. And I'm offended by Ms. Hines' statement that he didn't follow up on something. I know he followed up on it. And his job isn't to micromanage. Can you imagine the superintendent needs to go down there and pull the book? He's assuming his staff does that. But we're going to find out, because I know how passionate you are about this. I'm with you. This board's with you. Even the people that didn't vote for the resolution, they didn't vote because they don't think that parents have a say. They were just a little worried about some of the policy and the wording. So we're going to get this thing straight. But I do think we could have shown us this, even in writing, turn this into a... I'm very sad that it was put online, because I've been doing this for a good many years. Lots of kids, when we did before COVID, they'd be sitting out here, and then we sign it that they came to that board meeting. And your point that you brought to us was important. I am not negating that, and I'm not saying you shouldn't have brought it to us. But I'm very sad it got broadcast, because I'm going to tell you something. Somebody that hadn't read those books, they're going to go get them tomorrow before we can get them out of there. That happens. That's kids. And I'm sorry, I'm very passionate about it, and I don't like Dr. Ross being attacked when he shouldn't have been attacked.
Say too. I just wanted to say that nobody on this board, nobody wants anything like that in our libraries. Nobody. Okay, nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to advertise that to teenage children. Nobody wants that to happen. And in defense of this board, I have never seen this in writing. It's been shouted at us from the microphone numerous times. I have never been informed by anyone of a list of books or anything else. Nobody's ever emailed me one thing about books or anything else. And I got a 10-second call from Mr. Groach about 3 months ago, and he hung up the phone after when I started talking. So I'm sorry, but I've been I've heard all this all the time. We have not. This has not been fair to this board. We're trying to do the right thing. We don't agree with that there should be things in a school library that shouldn't be there, and we have ways to handle that. That's why we were saying there are associations, teachers, PTSO. There's all kinds of organizations that we want you to be part of, but and we will help you. We will help you. That's what a board's here for. But that's not fair to us just to get slammed from the side and expect us to come in here and understand everything you're talking about, because that's not the way it works.
Well, ending this, you're going to find out how this happens. That's our answer. That's what I need. Let's have a vote on Ms. Huddle's. Do you want to just read it real quickly? I'm sorry, we talked
Yes,
so.
ma'am. I move that we redact the recording of tonight's meeting before it is posted online to remove any obscene words or pornographic content.
All those in favor? And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And those opposed? 1. 1 opposed. So the motion carries. Okay, that was, I'm going to check the books in my media center tomorrow.